So how do you create a brand that truly represents who you are and the products you sell, as well as building a business that you can scale online? That is what this podcast will help you do. My name is Henry Kaminski Jr., and welcome to the Brand Doctor Podcast.
Let me just make this statement loud and clear. Jersey's here, Jersey's here.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another Brand Doctor Podcast episode. Man, it feels like it's been like ages since I recorded one of these. And it's been a week and a half. If not, yeah, a week. A week. I was on vacation last week. We got my man Always Qureshi back in the house. What's going on, dude?
What's up, Henry? Happy to see you back, man.
Oh man, it's been an interesting couple of weeks, man. The passing of my dog, and we got a new dog, and we went on a vacation for my 10-year anniversary with my wife. So it was a little short stint, but we had a really nice time. And now we are back kicking it. Today we're going to be talking about 5 ways to grow your personal brand online. I know all you coaches, consultants, authors, speakers, personality brands out there are very eager to learn how to fast track growth online. So I want to spend quite a bit of time today on this topic. We have some really awesome live guests again. Tommy's in the house. What is going on? We got Michelle. Great to see you back, Henry and Oasis. It's so funny, but I notice a lot of people, like when they write your name, they write Oasis.
I know.
I love it.
That's, I will say that has, for as long as I've been here, that's how people remember it. That's how people remember it. It's like Oasis without the ice.
That's it, man. Whatever works, dude. Whatever works. So I do want to encourage everybody that's watching live to participate in the conversation. So if you have questions, you have comments, please drop them in below, and we'll recognize them as we go. And for those folks that are just tuning in, right, every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern, we record these lives. So come join us live and participate. We would love to have you. We also do another live stream. It's not a podcast, but live stream on Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern on my YouTube channel, The Brand Doctor. So come check us out. Don't forget to subscribe over there. Now, jumping into today's topic, right? We want to get some preliminary questions out of the way, or some issues out of the way first before we actually help you get into growing your personal brand online. And the 2 big things that stick out to me after doing this for a long time is my clients typically don't have a real strategy to help them grow online. That's one. And number 2, they haven't really sat with the question, why do you want to build your personal brand in the first place online? Like, what are some of the benefits of doing that? Or are you doing it for the right reasons? So let's sit with that for a little bit. Let's go over this a little bit, because I want you guys to understand, building a personal brand online doesn't mean you get to 100,000 followers on all your platforms and then you think like you could sit back and you've quote unquote made it. No, you can have 100,000 followers on multiple platforms and make 0 money. I've met a lot of those people in the past, where they put up a big game online and then you meet them and they like pull up in their Honda Accord and like you ask them where they live and they're like, oh yeah, I'm living with my mom right now, and we're transitioning, and you're 46 years old. Like, come on, right? So I'm being a little facetious now, but you get what I'm saying. It's not about the metrics, right? Yeah. So I want you guys to sit here for a second and ask yourselves, why do you want to grow your personal brand online in the first place? And Oasis, you had a lunch meeting today, which coincidentally, this kind of came up indirectly. I wanted you to share that with us.
Yeah, I mean, both of these clients that I was in a meeting with, one has been in business for about 5 to 6 years. The other one, a little over 10 years. And, they've grown their company to 80 plus people, each one of them. And they both came to the same conclusion by themselves. I didn't have to do much of a push there, but they both came to the same conclusion. At the end of the day, most of their clients will do business or consider doing business with them as that final sort of a piece, rather than, hey, we're doing business with a faceless company. Yes, there are a lot of people behind the scenes that are working and making sure things are handled, and whatever they're looking to deliver, all of that is fulfilled. But at the end of the day, that initial relationship is formed with the founders of the company.
That's it. And it's such a great point. It all comes down to the relationships that you create, and they don't happen by themselves.
And so this is what personal brand translates to, is really forming that relationship, because people want to get to know you.
Yeah. And I think maybe one layer deeper than that is really getting true to who you really are, or becoming true to who you really are. I think when we live in this like fantasy land where we have to show up online and be a certain way and act a certain way, and then people meet you in real life and they're like subconsciously thinking, this is not the person that I've met online.
Yeah.
Right. That's going to leave a mark, and that could definitely impede growth of personal brand online if that's how you want to play ball. So I highly recommend to really getting true to who you are and then delivering that online. It's a funny story. I'm at this hotel. It's pretty new. It's fairly new down in Palm Beach, and after dinner, we go up to the rooftop and we're getting a couple of drinks, me and my wife and my little guy, and this guy comes out of nowhere and he goes, I know you. He's like, do you remember me? And I'm like, I knew exactly who he was. I was like, but I forgot his name, like right at the top of my head. And I go, wait a second, you were on my podcast. And he said, yeah, I'm Todd Hartley. And I was like, oh my God. And he goes, I saw you. I was sitting over there with my wife and I saw you at the bar. And I was like, that's a brandable face. This is what he says to me. That's a brandable face over there. And I had to come up. And it was so funny. When he came up, he was like asking me why I was here and so on. And he saw my wife and my son and all of that. And he wrote me this beautiful thing on Instagram later on that night. He was like, it was so nice to bump into you and your beautiful family. Hope you enjoy the rest of your vacation, blah, blah, blah. And like, you could tell that like his comments were very genuine, and he didn't have to do that. He didn't even have to come up to me. Right. But he came up and I was laughing. I was like, Jesus, see how small this world is? Like, you never know who you're going to bump into and when and where. So it just goes to show like personal brands go a long way. Now,
they go a long way.
I don't want to run out of time here because I do have a commitment I need to get to in about 20 minutes. So let's run through this and help you guys out here. So one of the first things that I want you guys to consider when it comes to growing your personal brand online is to really get serious about sharing your story. I had a client today that came to me and says, I'm ready to do this podcast tour that you recommended, but I don't have a bio to give anybody. So how do you whip up a bio? So I gave him mine and I said, look at how I broke my bio down. Use it as a model. Obviously don't copy it, but use it as a model. And then once we get that up, then I can create a nice little one sheet for you that your podcast agency can send out to people, right? So, but one of the things that I want you to share is your story. I mean, that was one of the biggest things that held me back in my personal brand growth, was I wasn't sharing that story online. Like, people who knew me knew it, but like none of my clients knew it and nobody online knew it. So who are you? What are you doing? Why are you doing it? And what are your superpowers? Like, what makes you different from everybody else? And always ask this question to me before we went live. He said, what do you mean by superpowers? And I gave him a good example. I said, me, never was afraid to speak in front of large groups. which makes it very easy for me to flip on a camera, go live, and speak to 100 people on a live stream without a blink of an eye. Always, he's a critical thinker. I'm not a huge critical thinker. So, right, he may be hesitant to go live, but he's got a great thinking mind that goes deep. So when you do go live, you're very strategic about it, right? So that's what I mean by superpower. So what are your superpowers? Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? There's, people poo-poo on introverts all the time, but they're one of the best listeners I've ever met in my life, right? So like,
don't use that as a weakness. No. Introversion is not a weakness.
No, I wish I was an introvert sometimes because my mouth wouldn't get me in trouble all the time, right? But so who's your superpowers, right? Yeah. What are your superpowers? What do you value the most? That's something that you really need to get serious about. Like, what do you value the most? Like, some people it's vanity, and that's okay. That's why reality shows are crushing it. Right? People love to watch that stuff and like to accumulate that stuff, that materialistic stuff. If that's what drives you, great. Just keep it real with everybody. If you're on the impact side of things and you want to see people transform, you want to see people make a difference in their lives, own that and express that in your actions and the way you present yourself online. Like, people are going to notice that, right? This whole experience with my dog passing 2 weeks ago and me getting the new one so quickly, some people had something to say about that. Some people understood where I was coming from, why I wanted to rescue a dog so quickly. I might not be here tomorrow, guys, God forbid. Listen, I'm always going to remember my dog. Like, you can't replace that dog. That dog is one in a million, right? But there's so many other pit bulls out there that need rescuing. That's why I kept saying to myself, time is ticking, right? Like, let's get out there and rescue another dog. We have the means to do it. Why wait? So once my wife understood that, because she thought I was like, that was my grieving process. And I'm like, no. Listen, Canel's not coming back. I could grieve. I think I let it all out that day and the next day, but like now I'm on a mission to help another dog. And so my brain was somewhere else. So, but what do I value? I value life. I value helping. I value serving. So get vocal with that. That's something that I really want you guys to pay attention to. And then I want you to take this next one, because I love this test.
The purpose.
No,
purpose behind. That. Oh, wait. You're saying the.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry.
And this is one that is really near and dear to my heart, because I always ask, like, look, what is it that's driving you? You mentioned this earlier as well. Mm-hmm. What is it that's truly driving you to show up online, right? If it is the vanity metrics, if it is the flash, own up to it. Yeah. Don't come in there and be a humble bragger, and right?
That's so true.
Own up to it, and just if that's what you want your brand to be about, by all means do that. Yeah. But if you want your brand to be about the fact that you're truly wanting to enhance and improve the lives of the people that you're helping, we'll talk about that, and talk about that from a level of genuineness.
Yeah, that's so important. So here's one of my favorites is Google your name and see what shows up. And ask yourself, am I proud of this? Or lack thereof? Like, that's something that you should really strive for, is when somebody says, how can I learn more about you? I want you one day to be like, just Google my name.
So I love your story around this, because, you've mentioned this on several occasions. And you even gave a presentation. You talked about why you want to make sure that you have a digital footprint, and it goes beyond just you. It goes beyond your business.
Mhm.
What is that legacy that you want to leave behind?
Well, I'm not going to be around forever. And I grew up not having necessarily the best guidance in the world. So I had to figure a lot of things out on my own. And I want now with tech and social media, what it is today, we didn't have that back then. Like, I want to leave those breadcrumbs for my son. So, like, when my son goes to Google my name one day, he could be like, "Oh, Daddy said this, Daddy said that," and I'm slowly leaving him clues on how to treat people, how to run a business, who to not do business with, how to position yourself correctly, so you get the right people coming to you, right? And you're forming the right strategic relationships and finding the right friends in life too.
Yeah,
So that's what I'm doing this for, because I'm about to embark on another business venture, and hopefully it comes to fruition. We're still in the infancy stages of it all. So if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and I'm a firm believer of that. But that's going to take up a lot of my time if it gets approved. So again, I'm going to be documenting the journey on that. So people that are interested in going into that kind of business, they're going to see how I do it, right? So it's very exciting. You could sit here and be like, oh, I'm so scared to do anything because I don't want to lose it, or I'm afraid of failing. Listen, I can't take any of this with me when I go, so I might as well hit the ground running, right? But Google your name, see what comes up, and if you're not happy with that, ask yourself, all right, what do I need to do to establish that presence? So we're going to get into that now, right? So we talk about this on every freaking episode, but I'm going to beat a dead horse until it's really dead. But it's dialing in your audience, right? You're not going to be able to build a personal brand online if you don't have a dialed in audience. So you have some key points here, Elise, that you mentioned, and I want you to share.
Exactly. And this is personal brand and business brand. It all needs to be relatable.
Mm-hmm.
And on the personal side, how do you create that relatability? Henry does this at such a high tier level, which is expressing that vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
He is not afraid to be vulnerable. And that helps all of us, just kind of close in and really, Henry and I have never met in person. We have yet to meet in person, right?
No.
But I mean, the fact is that we're able to the fact that all of us in his audience are able to connect with him as if we're able to hang out with him on a weekly basis. And that's because, he shows up very authentically. It's not all smiles all the time. Sometimes he gets frustrated with someone that's in the audience, right? And he tells it like how it is. And that's good. That's, we see all sides of Henry. And I'm working on that myself. I still struggle with it because it's just like, man, these are strangers. But Henry has treated people as if they're all his friends. And I think that that's what differentiates how he has succeeded in his personal brand versus why I'm still struggling, is that, he's treated everyone as if they're friends until they aren't.
Well, listen, and I appreciate those kind words. Let me tell you, you've come such a long way, dude, just by showing up and being part of this podcast so consistently. And like I've told you offline, after we critique ourselves after every episode, like, man, the way you're showing up, the way you're slowly letting people in to know who you really are is going to go a long way. That's such a long game play, but people are going to pick up on that. They're going to see you for who you are, and that's why they're going to do business with you. So, Michelle here says, I appreciate the vulnerability and authenticity immensely. Yeah, it's part of me and who I am, and I think that's something that I wish more people could buy into or accept. Right.
It's a mental exercise, Henry. And like you said, the fact that, showing up on here consistently, from my side, hey, I love being on the show and all the audience that show up and all of that. However, in addition to that, I know that there are people out there that are struggling with this exact same thing. They feel like there's some sort of an impediment, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's holding them back. But they're like, okay, well, how do I get started? And so, this is just that's a personal message from my personal brand right now is get started and don't be afraid.
Yeah,
Don't be afraid.
you don't have to be perfect, but
Yeah,
you want to be progressive.
yeah,
Like that's just continue those steps.
yeah,
Keep it moving.
yeah.
And slowly but surely you will get better. I promise you.
Yeah,
There's no other way about it.
yeah,
Right? But you have to continue to step.
right.
Right? So being conscious of time here. So I want to kind of speed things up a little bit. So there's a few things that I want to share with you on how to grow your personal brand online. So there's two big ways, and then there's subcategories underneath. One way is earning your way in. So that's the organic approach. Putting out that content, staying consistent with it, doing those IG live collaborations, or maybe you go on a YouTube channel or a podcast, things like that. That's the organic approach, and that does work, right? But I will tell you that is the turtle way of doing it. It is a very slow process. Yeah, eventually you'll start to pick up some momentum, but it's going to take you a long time. The other way is actually buying your way in. And this is something I saw at a really young age as I watched my relatives build a big family business where, a lot of things get political, a lot of things it's all about knowing the right people and right.
Yeah.
So I saw this buy-in where I hate to say it, but you grease them, right? And next thing you know, other doors are opening, right? So
Exactly.
in the online world, we're not greasing anybody, but there's some things that could take the form of that. So, for example, how I got Russell Brunson as a client was I joined his mastermind group. I paid him first, right? That's kind of like a grease job. Right. And then he realized my talent and skill, and he's like, oh man, we could use him. And so that's how I got the business above everybody else because I was already giving him some cash. So that's what I mean by buying your way in. Or you do paid traffic in many different ways. I don't have time to go into all the ways now, but that's buying your way in. You mentioned here, I see here trusted advisors.
Yeah.
It's very, very important. And I put right underneath that hiring an influential mentor.
That's right.
I have a mentor who hired a mentor who nobody knew, which there's benefits to that. I hired mentors that a lot of people knew because there's fringe benefits to that in my eyes, right? I could go on one of their podcasts and get introduced to hundreds of thousands of people in one episode, right? So think about that. This is how you grow your personal brand. Talk about brand, what's the word? Brand association. Brand association is huge. So this is getting into those strategic partnerships or those masterminds or getting those mentors that are very influential that could put you in front of the right people. Very important. Marketing strategy is another one that you have to really pay attention to. And goes under the buying your way in category. We're doing a really cool LinkedIn strategy right now that's picking up a lot of momentum, and it's putting me in front of a lot of really great candidates for the Brand Accelerator program. But I'm also providing a tremendous amount of value to these folks way in advance and not worrying about whether or not they become a Brand Accelerator client. I don't really care about that. What I want to do is I want to learn from them through my podcast. I want to see what makes them tick. So there's so many things here. And by doing that, they get exposed to my large audience. And that's the big benefit there. So I'm helping them grow and I'm growing at the same time. One thing we can't forget about, guys, is your content strategy. I think as a personal brand moving forward, this is like a prerequisite to growing online. So you have to have them. So what does that look like? How is that themed? How is it categorized? How is it pillared out? What does the content do? So for example, I'm running an Instagram campaign right now, and we're doing boosted posts of posts that did really well. And they're bringing in a tremendous amount of following, right? But the click-throughs are low. Okay, they're kind of memeable. They're kind of meme-ish in a sense. So that kind of post does that kind of objective. Whereas I have another boosted post running that gets no followers, but gets a ton of opt-ins and click-throughs to my site, to my landing page. So objective there is lead gen. So this is a content strategy that I'm putting together. So I'm identifying what posts are trying to do what, or supposed to do what, and working it accordingly, right? And that's powerful. That's important, right? So this is, again, all under the buying your way in strategy. Now, here's the big asterisk that I want to put before I wrap up here today. If you buy your way in, you're going to save a ton of time, and you're going to save a ton of energy because you're leveraging resources, okay? But let me tell you something right now. You can't buy your way in and not deliver, okay? Because all you're going to do is destroy your personal brand faster by doing that. I see people do that. They leverage influencers, they buy their way in, they get around the right people, but their product and service is shit. It's the quickest way to kill your personal brand. So if you're going to put in this effort and buy your way in and put that money where your mouth is and get to that top faster, then you better deliver the goods. Right? This isn't a shortcut. This isn't I'm associated with these guys now, so I don't have to put in the work so much. No.
Fix your kitchen first.
Right.
Before you go out there and get people to dine at your restaurant, fix your kitchen first.
That's it. And I would go a step further and say, make sure your bathroom is spotless. I told one of my clients was giving me a virtual tour of his new restaurant he's renovating, and he showed me the bathrooms, and I'm like, what are we, the Ritz-Carlton over here? And he laughed, and I said, now I know what your kitchen looks like, and he started laughing. But that it's so true, right? Fix your kitchen first. So a couple things I want you guys to think about here before we wrap up is imagine how much ground you'd cover by buying your way in to growing your personal brand. There's a lot that comes in there. If you buy into the right mentorship, there's a bunch of stuff that could happen.
Yeah.
Right? Like I just went on Chris Doe's podcast a couple weeks ago. That thing's going to come out, and thousands of people are going to watch that, right? But that was a no-brainer for us because I've been working with Chris for 3.5 years, going on 4 years, personal, one-on-one. So that was easy. Like, Chris, I want to come on your show. All right, pick a date. It was like that. Like those are the partnerships that you want to create, right?
And it's the associations, the brand associations, like you said earlier.
Right. And so my question to you is, do you have the time to waste? Do you have the time to waste? So if not, I'm going to encourage you to book a brand assessment right now by going to Unique Designz with a Z at the end, not an S.net, and just click the button, book a brand assessment. And let's get you going in the right direction. So you're not sitting there in turtle mode and you're rabbit mode and you're getting what you want a hell of a lot faster than you trying to figure it all out on your own. So we gave you today some really key things to pay attention to when it comes to growing your personal brand online and some different strategies and some different approaches. So I want you to think about this and I want you to execute. I want you to actually do something with this information. Because again, we're leaving the breadcrumbs behind in every one of these episodes. It's up to you to pick them up and eat them. So
Take action.
yeah, bottom line. So appreciate you guys. I am literally at the last minute before I have to jump on this call. So I'm going to jump away. I'll see you on Wednesday. Have an amazing day, everybody. Don't forget, guys. I saw Tom Kroll in the house today, and Michelle, and Sami.
Michelle, that is how you spell my name, by the way, Michelle. Thank you.
Awesome stuff. So appreciate all you guys for tuning in live again. And we will see you guys real soon. Take care.